Dad says, I'll see it again on streaming. Yeah, I definitely want to go see this. I definitely want to see it. So let's move on from something that happened last weekend to something that happened more than 3 or 4 months ago. And it's ongoing. And I'm talking about one Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors he now has a court date. So anybody who's unfamiliar with the situation, there was an incident that happened in March that he was out with his girlfriend or at a bar, and then the woman got assaulted. They called 911. He was then arrested, and everything ensued after that. Okay. You had PR companies drop him drop him really quick. You had a sponsorship, the Army, that dropped him. You had, everybody. And the problem was that he was at the height of his powers, so to speak, then. Okay. I mean, he had just come, he had 2 hit movies. He was the number 1 and number 2 actor. He had the number 1 and number 2 worldwide films in the box office at once, with Creed 3 and then in Wasp, Quantumania. And now, of course, he starred in Magazine Dreams that was going to be put out by Searchlight in December, but that got taken back. So, all that being said, he went to court once. They got a continuation. Yesterday was his court date. So, according to the Wrap, okay, so he went to court, and it says that the article states that the attorney for Jonathan Majors has, quote, additional compelling evidence that was delivered to the DA. He requested for the case to be dismissed. On the heels of an August trial date being set for Jonathan Majors' domestic assault case, the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania actor's attorney says, quote, additional compelling evidence, end quote, has been delivered to the Manhattan District Attorney, and once again requested that the charges against him be dropped. Within the first few weeks of the false allegations, we provided the District Attorney with evidence of Mr. Majors' innocence. Last week, we delivered additional compelling evidence to the DA, clearly proving Grace Gabbard, and that's the woman's name, assault on Jonathan Majors and not the other way around, said the attorney provided to the Wrap. The evidence includes videos of Miss Gabbard's frenzied attack on Miss Majors and his running away from her, the statement continued. We also have photographs illustrating the injuries that she inflicted on Mr. Majors, and photos of her clothing torn as a consequence of Miss Gabbard's action. As I said, on March 25th, Majors was arrested in the Manhattan neighborhood in Chelsea on charges of assault, strangulation, and harassment in connection with a domestic dispute involving another 30-year-old woman. The woman was reportedly Majors' girlfriend and one who called the police, telling officials that the actress had assaulted her the night before. The victim sustained minor injuries to her head and neck and was removed to an area hospital and was in stable condition, spokeswoman for the NYPD said. Majors' attorney said at the time there was video evidence that proved Majors' the innocence of the actor, but the evidence was yet to be released to the public. On Tuesday, the lawyer said that after submitting the aforementioned, quote, additional compelling evidence, they, quote, strongly requested, end quote, the DA to dismiss all charges against Majors and, quote, initiate proceedings against Ms. Gabbard, holding her accountable for her crimes, end quote. She's not been charged with any crimes. The statement concluded, while we are hopeful that the district attorney is reviewing the material in good faith and will do the right thing soon to accelerate our case, we have requested a trial date ASAP. This August date will come ahead of the October debut of the second season of Marvel's Loki, season 2 of Loki, which he reprises his role as Kang the Conqueror. His MCU feature is beyond that is unclear, and he's technically due a major thing in Kang the Dynasty. Okay, let's talk about this because it's important. So, and Antonius says, the whole thing with Majors is very weird, honestly. They said they had evidence that showcased his innocence, and yet we have yet to see anything. Has Marvel invested way too much in him? No. The answer to your question is no. Okay. So I was going to get to that in just a minute. That's a very good question, by the way. So a couple of things. Number one, even if it was standard SOP, standard operating procedures to arrest him, he had to go through the motions. Okay. Number two, I would agree with you on one thing. Okay. He has yet, when I say he, I mean Majors. He has yet to come up, and his team has yet to come up with anything. Okay. And it's a very bad sign that we haven't seen anything. Now, we've seen, now I have to caveat there's a couple caveats here. Number one, I'm reserving judgment. I'm not going to say he's guilty or innocent and throw the book at him. That's not my place. Okay. That's not my place at all. Because I don't know all the facts. Okay. Number two, I will say this. If they had evidence, and here's the big if, okay? If they had evidence, and if they did turn it over, I don't know what the DA is waiting for. That being said, the fact that the defense requested a trial date is very, very suspicious, okay? Because usually it's the other way around. The prosecutor gets a trial date, okay? And they say, we want to move forward with this case. And look, I'm not a lawyer, nor do I play one on television or streaming, okay? But I do know enough to know, on the circumstance. Okay. That being said, I think that, and that's what the prosecution will do. They will say, okay, we have enough to move forward, and then we're going to charge him. Now, if the defense did this and said, we want a trial date, which, by the way, is their total right to do, okay? I think that they're just trying to save face because everybody else, okay, is dropped him like a fly, whether it's the Army with the sponsorship, whether it's his PR people, whether it's everybody. The only one company that is waiting for all of this is Disney. Because they realize what happened with James Gunn. And they don't want to make the same mistake again. They don't want to drop the guy and then have it come out and then there's a bombshell and go, oh no, we did the wrong thing. So they're reserving judgment. Okay. Now, and by the way, he was, as I said at the beginning, he was at the height of his powers. So your question, Antonius, was this, okay? Has Marvel invested way too much in him? And I think the answer is no, because here's why. Number one, they didn't know what he was going to do, okay? And number two, this was the start of a big phase, okay? You were just coming off the whole Infinity thing, a few years back. They wanted to actually push the villain, and you had had him in Loki season 1. So there was no indication of all of this stuff happening. So the fact that this happened now being in March, now it's very concerning that you don't see him anywhere in the season 2 trailer, okay? But there is a way to get around it for Disney because he is a variant, right? I mean, we all saw at the end of Ant-Man, okay, in one of the post-credit scenes, spoilers there, by the way. But that being said, they can just switch somebody out. It kind of be like a Doctor Who type of thing. So I don't think they did. They're just waiting. Of course, we're not judging him or anything. I haven't been that impressed by his Kang till now, but that doesn't mean I want him out or anything. He just needs better material to shine on. Not only does he need better material to shine on, okay, because look, I thought he was great. I thought he was fantastic in Ant-Man. I thought his scenes with Michelle Pfeiffer were fantastic. Okay, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Jeff Loveless, for whatever it's worth, and he's supposed to be writing this new Kang Dynasty. Okay, I don't know if he got taken off of it, But there's a lot of things to be said there. So I think, okay, and this goes back to your question whether they invested too much. It's going to be very fascinating to see what happens. So August 4th is not that far away, okay? We're only about 5 weeks away. I would suspect that one of two things is going to happen, okay? Number one, this goes to trial and this lasts maybe about a week, and it's all done. Or number two, they realize, and when I say they, I mean Majors, they and his team realize we're not going to be able to get out of this. We've got a cop plea. And they're going to save time and money and everything else. In which case, Disney will drop them. So that leads to a whole other question. What does Disney do? There's two things that they can do, okay, at least in my opinion. Now, they're going to wait until August 4th, okay? Number one, okay, he's got a bombshell. Drops it, a trial, and he walks away unscathed. Okay? I don't think that will happen. Because if he's already turned this evidence over to the DA, they've got to be reviewing it. And why would you request a trial date? That doesn't make any sense. Okay. Discovery, yes, I understand discovery. Okay, but still. Number two, he's found guilty. He cops a plea. He's found guilty. Disney then axes him. Okay, severs his contract, in which case they then have to go out and look for a new Kang. And I guarantee you right now as we speak, or as I'm talking today at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they're already talking. Kevin Feige's already talking about this. It's not like they're going to wait. They're waiting, but they're also prepping. So they're not caught with their pants down, so to speak. Okay. So they are already looking into actors, or they may be screen testing actors or auditioning actors to fill the role of Kang. So that is a perfectly legitimate choice. And there's another question to be asked here. What happens to his career? Okay. What happens to his career? Because here's the thing. We had somebody in Ezra Miller who went across the world and did all of these allegedly did all of these terrible things. He paid fines and everything else, and you saw the results partially, not everything. It's not all his fault. It's not all their fault. Partially the results. If, and this is a huge caveat, and I don't think they would do this, but let's say they cops a plea, he's made to pay a fine, and everything else. He's on probation for 6 months. And Kevin says, you know what? We're going to keep him around. All hell would break loose. All hell would break loose. Because there have been plenty of actors over the course of all their careers to do screwed up things. And yet, nothing happens. So they are really, really in a tight spot. So the next time we'll probably talk about this is, August 4th with the start of the trial. And I'm not going to cover it every day, obviously, but what I will do is once there's some sort of resolution, we'll talk about it. So Dad says, what about Johnny Depp? He was accused of a lot by Amber Heard, and look how that ended. The guys are always end up being the bad guys in the relationship. Yeah. And that's Johnny Depp's another perfect example, Dad. He's another perfect example. Okay? So, there have been so many people. Okay? So the bad guys aren't always the bad. Yeah, no, I understand wholeheartedly. I get it. That whole thing was, that was Johnny Depp, his career is essentially over. I think he's doing a movie that just premiered at Cannes, but he lost he lost two major franchises. He lost Pirates of the Caribbean and he lost Fantastic Beasts. So that's why they're waiting on this. So anyways, what do you think, guys? What do you think is going to happen with Jonathan Majors? Do you think that once the trial date comes along that he's just going to take a plea? Do you think that he's actually going to go to trial? Or do you think Disney's going to say, okay, we're done with this guy, let him go? Leave me your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll get back to you.